All right, man, peace. So as I've been telling many of you brothers from the start of this entire process of social reengineering, the hashtag MeToo movement, which has changed into the hashtag Time's Up movement, is meant purely to convert Hollywood over into a forum to promote the feminine principle. Thereafter, they hope that they can use Hollywood to affect basic society, common society, and the masses by influencing so-called males or men in this society to treat women as if they are deities. They want men to be apologetic for being men, which means what? Being rational, logical thinkers. One of the ways that you know this is that now they're trying to attack the fiction known as the gender wage gap. Now, the gender wage gap has always been based on the pretense that a so-called female should be getting paid as much as a man just because they're doing the same work, not based on merit or proficiency in that field. Now let's just watch this story about Mr. Mark Wahlberg and Miss Michelle Williams and watch how they cover this story and how much it illustrates why women in general are not fit to handle financial, any type of financial appraisal or business appraisal if they have not been properly trained.
A rising number of celebrities are joining the chorus against gender inequality in Hollywood. Now, this follows reports that Michelle Williams was paid $80 a day to reshoot scenes for the movie All the Money in the World. Her co-star Mark Wahlberg received a reported $1.5 million.
So is this an issue with gender inequality, or is this an issue with Michelle Williams' agent? Clearly, her agent is not doing his job properly or her job properly, whoever she happens to have representing her. Mark Wahlberg has been an established superstar in Hollywood now for, I would say, around 15 years. This is why I stated that they're using these movements to try to convince men that they're supposed to just give things to females. Why is that? Because as I've stated ad infinitum on this channel, the average modern day liberal female is dealing with entitlement issues. She believes that she deserves certain things despite the fact that the numbers are not going to add up. What movies has Michelle Williams done that even if she had the same agent as Mark Wahlberg, that she would deserve the same deal as him? What this so-called Me Too movement or so-called Time's Up movement is going to do is it's going to cripple Hollywood unless the males that are in Hollywood get a backbone and want to save their business venture. Because if you leave it to the women, they're going to cripple it. What's going to happen is that after Hollywood in the next 5 years is consistently in the red, most of these females are not going to understand why there are not going to be the type of movie offers that they've had over the previous however many so years, because they don't deal with money. They're dealing with their emotions. And if these males in Hollywood are truly have an intent to save that industry, they're going to have to curtail this so-called Me Too movement, this so-called Time's Up movement, which is really just a front for extortion of many of these guys in Hollywood. But most of these guys in Hollywood are degenerates anyway. So it's a comedy of errors.
Bianca Goldriga looks at the movie industry's history of underpaying actresses. Bianca, good morning. When people heard the numbers, it was jaw-dropping.
Yeah, you could call this Hollywood's other worst kept secret. Good morning. Those scenes had to be reshot because Kevin Spacey, accused of being a serial sexual abuser, was dropped from the movie. At the time, that decision seemed like a victory for the Me Too movement. Whether that's still the case is unclear now.
I don't have any money.
In All the Money in the World, Michelle Williams' character has to beg her former father-in-law, the industrialist John Paul Getty, to pay off her son's kidnappers. Christopher Plummer was recast as Getty. Mark Wahlberg had a supporting role.
I have no money to spare.
What would it take? I mean, what would it take for you to feel secure?
More.
Williams quickly agreed to reshoot her scenes and even waived her standard fee.
I was proud and I was excited to be a part of it.
Unlike Williams, Wahlberg's contract did not cover reshoots. According to USA Today, he refused to shoot scenes with Plummer unless he got paid for the additional work.
Which is what he's supposed to do. Mark Wahlberg is a hustler. That guy's gonna get his money. Now, Michelle Williams is an artsy actress. If she wants to do her reshoots for $80 a day and she doesn't care about the money, then she's good. And what exactly has she done in Hollywood? Once again, what has she done to feel like she should be getting paid the same amount of money as Mark Wahlberg? Even she knows that she hasn't done enough. But she's getting swept up in the fascist movement known as the hashtag #MeToo movement. And she's probably getting pressured by many of these other female actresses in Hollywood to quote unquote stick to her guns. They're also going to extort Mark Wahlberg, as has been revealed later. He gave, he donated quote unquote all the money that he got from his reshoot to the hashtag #MeToo movement. Who knows why? Maybe they have some dirt on him and they threatened to open up one of his files, or threatened to have some actress come out of the woodwork and claim that he harassed her or assaulted her back in the day. As we've already seen, many of these people are going back 30, 35 years. And for those of you who don't know, Mark Wahlberg already has a lot of racial dirt on him. He did time in jail for assaulting someone because I believe it was an East Indian or Arab, someone like that. It wasn't a so-called black person, but he's been involved in some racial incidents from his time when he was when he was growing up in Boston, trying to be a wiggle white boy.
Work. Hollywood's pay gap was a hot topic at the Critics' Choice Awards last night.
Thank you to the producers for paying Niecy and I the same amount of money and Mark Wahlberg $1 million.
This chick here, Olivia Munn, for those of you who don't know, is just another thought who gets smutted around Hollywood. Brett Ratner recently came out and said that, yeah, he used to bang her for a while. He even forgot that he used to bang her because, he lays down with so many of these bugged out entertainment industry females. He also used to get down with Serena Williams, as I've already stated on this channel numerous times. That's why I laugh at a lot of these guys, these pro-black dudes who get mad when I speak on the notion that Serena Williams and her so-called sister are really just trannies, just transgenders who are put under hormonal treatment, and they're both monarch athletes. The funny thing about these so-called black males is that you guys never had a chance with Serena Williams. They told you guys that, the Williams brothers told you guys that back in the early 2000s, that they don't like so-called black men. I'm not saying that they have not slept with any so-called black men over the course of the last 15 years, but they don't take you guys serious. They told you that directly. And as you can see by who Serena Williams chose to quote unquote marry, it is what it is. People mention Common and Jackie Long and all this nonsense. I told you guys in another video, Common and Jackie Long are her homegirls. All right? I'll leave it at that. Anyone who is paying attention, you've seen Common at many of these Hollywood award shows, clapping it up in the back to promote the hashtag #MeToo movement. He is a worshiper of the feminine principle, and yes, he is a pansexual, allegedly. All right, it is what it is. You can get mad at that. I know some black dudes. You're gonna have some pro-black dude in the comment. How you know that? What's your proof? And look, notice the dress that they have Olivia Munn, or pardon me, her blouse. I don't know if it's a dress or not, but her blouse. The color scheme of her blouse is matching the color scheme of Niecy Nash's dress. Niecy Nash is another one of these bros who walks around with her titties pressed together, 40 some odd years old. Last time I was aware of anything that she was doing, she was on some cheesy show on TNT about a nail salon where she was getting her back blown out on camera by some Caucasian man. That's what many of these Hollywood actresses want. They want respect for doing disrespectful things on camera.
Actors walk the blue carpet in support of equal pay.
Ideally hope there's a follow-on story that addresses the imbalance.
No one is better.
That was Joseph Fiennes. He was in one of my favorite movies back in the day, Shakespeare in Love. But he's scared for his life. He's another actor in Hollywood scared for his life. Right now, the actors in Hollywood are like, they're definitely being hunted. It's very, very similar to the Salem witch trials, or what the Caucasian Jews state that they were going through during the time of Hitler. They certainly have to, watch themselves and, stay on their P's and Q's, dot their I's and cross their T's.
Better than or less than someone else, and especially if they're in the same movie.
I want to rewind back what this overweight Caucasian woman just said.
Last year for equal pay.
Ideally hope there's a follow-on story that addresses the imbalance.
No one is better than or less than someone else, and especially if they're in the same movie.
That's great. That's good to know. So now if I'm walking down the street and some director looks at me and says, I want to make you an extra in the movie, I want you to just walk through for 10 seconds. You're going to be the black guy walking across the street. That's good. I could make as much money as Denzel Washington because we're both in the same movie and nobody's better than anyone else. That's the delusional, fictional world that the modern day liberal female lives in. And you know who I blame for that? I blame most of you so-called men in this society who have allowed these silly females to go on and not just create this delusional, fictional, mystical world, but to actually try to add wrinkles to it. It's like an artist who has a canvas and they're laying out, they're drawing the outline for their artwork, and now they're starting to, add detail to it, add paint on top of it, so that they can look at it and it looks so realistic that it even fools them. That's what's going on with the modern day liberal female. And please pay very close attention, because the reason why they're making such a big deal about what's going on in Hollywood is, as I've stated to you brothers before, it is going to have a trickle-down effect in the corporations that you work at. Big time. There's no doubt about it. So right now, these Hollywood actors like Mark Wahlberg and also Aziz Ansari, they're just being used. They're going to be used as pincushions and dartboards. And they are going to get extorted, particularly rich ones like Mark Wahlberg.
Last year, Forbes said Wahlberg was Hollywood's highest paid actor, making $68 million. The highest paid actress was Oscar winner Emma Stone with $26 million.
Now pay attention. It says that Emma Stone was the highest paid Hollywood actress. But what you'll find about most of these high paid Hollywood actresses like Emma Stone or Jennifer Lawrence, they tend to be associated with Hollywood franchises that are geared towards young males. Remember, Emma Stone came into prominence when she did the Spider-Man redo. She was in two of those Spider-Man films where she played Gwen Stacy. Jennifer Lawrence, as we all know, came into prominence in the X-Men series, and then she did the Hunger Games franchise, in which, by the way, in that franchise, she played the goddess Diana, the huntress with the bow and arrow. Okay? Her friend, Peeta, and this is why I've been telling you, brothers, for the longest time, notice that her consort, the person that she ended up with, was named Peeta. That's the same guy that I've been telling you about for the longest time. That's an allusion to Ptah from ancient Kemet, who became known in Greece as Pan. That's why they were out in the woods all the time. Ptah, or Pan, is the woodland god, right? The stag god. Diana ended up with Ptah at the end of that series.
A-listers Jennifer Lawrence, Amy Adams, and Taraji P. Henson have said they've received smaller paychecks than their male co-stars.
Now, when did Taraji P. Henson become a A-lister? For what film exactly? What film has Taraji P. Henson done where she would be considered an A-list star? Benjamin Button, where she got to play the maid? Is that the one where she suddenly became an A-list star? And by the way, that film Proud Mary was a huge tank at the box office, as all female-driven action films are going to be, unless they're able to, create a dynamic in the film where there is a strong male presence. As I told you, brothers, I keep telling you, they're going to use action films to try to create an image of the female as a warrior. But in order for those films to be successful, number one, you have to have an actress who's appealing, like a Jennifer Lawrence, and you also have to have an element in the film where there are also strong male warriors. That's why you have the Star Wars franchise that is being relatively successful. That's why you have the Hunger Games franchise that is relatively successful. Right? And also the Hunger Games franchise was also an allusion to a lot of what goes on in quote-unquote high-end elite, what they call Illuminati circles, where and I mentioned this on this channel before, is what's called the game, where you have very affluent men across the world who meet in certain locations, in the woods, in certain locations, normally in Australia or parts of Canada, Montana, Idaho, North Dakota, and they'll take children that they have found at orphanages. They will sexually molest those children, and then they'll send them out into the woods, butt naked, to be hunted. Once they're caught, they're killed, and then they're castrated. So the Hunger Games was an allusion to that. It was also an allusion to many of the people in this society, once they fully corporatize the society, being split up into districts or sectors.
Jenna Murata is a film reporter at IndieWire.
People in Hollywood may seem very privileged compared to the rest of us, but if they can spotlight the pay inequality that women in almost all industries experience, then it's important.
Yes, it's important for us to recognize that Taraji P. Henson should be getting paid as much as Denzel Washington, because we're all doing movies, so we should all be paid the same. It shouldn't be a meritocracy. It shouldn't be based on finance. It should be based on the fact that I'm a woman and I have a vagina, and it should be worshipped. It's what I deserve because I held a baby in my stomach for 9 months. This is what I need so that I can feel equal to you. You know, this is what I always tell you, brothers. The feminist movement is not about empowering women or feeling strong because they're women. It's really about trying to tear down male hegemony. And it's based in jealousy. The female wants to be a man. That's why when you see most of these lesbians, they want to dress up like men. Because they want to be a man. They don't want to be viewed as equal to a man. They want to be a man. And even in that term equality, that, you know, something can only be equal to itself. So when the so-called liberal woman, modern day woman, says that she wants to be equal to a man, what she really means is that she wants to be a man. And you'll find that just like children, when they play those make-believe games, if you don't establish to them that every once in a while you have to come back into the real world, they're going to get lost in their own delusion. So that's why I always put the onus on the man. As I always state, the woman is just a child with titties, with breasts, and they're going to be like that until they're about 45, and then they're going to start to mature. Meaning what? Many of these females that are in their 50s in Hollywood, they know that most of these little young actresses ain't shit. They know that most of them don't deserve to get paid what the men get paid. They know that the men in Hollywood are handling most of the business in the background, and that many of the images of women that they're trying to promote in Hollywood are not going to be lucrative if you turn Hollywood all the way over into a feminist enclave. It's going to cripple Hollywood, much like I told you guys they were using Kaepernick to try to cripple the NFL.
Representatives for Williams and Wahlberg declined our request for comment. Both actors are signed with the same agency, WME, but it is not clear whether their agents discussed the issue over reshooting fees with one another. You know, this goes back to this being Hollywood's worst kept secret. You see the numbers there. He made $68 million last year. Emma Stone, I think 14 men made more money than Emma Stone did as the highest paid female actress. So a lot of people talking about it, whether or not we're going to see a change.
I don't necessarily blame Mark Wahlberg here, but I am looking at Michelle Williams' agent if I were her.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Gayle King. Every once in a while, Gayle King, like a broken clock, you know, she's right about twice, you know, every 10 years.
Right.
Especially since they're at the same agency, I'd say. Got lots of questions.
Yeah, and it would be even worse if the agents did have a conversation, because one of them might not have told the truth.
And look, Mark Wahlberg apparently took a lower fee for this movie going into it. So, I mean, who knows? They're not speaking out. I don't want to put words in their mouth.
It raises a lot of questions.
All right.
It doesn't raise that many questions. Mark Wahlberg has been involved in some mega franchises. He's a mega producer. He has produced a lot of top shows on HBO. As I've already stated, he's been involved in mega franchises like Transformers. Just the sentiment that people would think that Michelle Williams would get paid equal to Mark Wahlberg is asinine. It's completely asinine. Okay? I'm not against a female getting paid as much as or more than a man. If you're in films, and you're a female actor or an actress, whatever the term is that these females want to be called, and you're writing movies, you're producing movies, and the films that you're acting in are generating more revenue than a man, then yes, you should be getting paid more than a man. But if you're not, then stop bitching and complaining about it. That's what that comes down to. But anyway, peace.